everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the Do WIT podcast 2023. I'm your host, Sarah Hernholm, the founder of WIT Whatever It Takes. And to be really blunt, I don't know exactly what I want to talk about with all of you today, but I did want to start my year with you. And I did want to try to bring value to your first day of the new year. And I think the best way to do that is to share a little bit about what I'm doing to kick off the year and then let you know what's working for me. And then maybe you can try some of those tips and tricks. And then also share with you the goals that I have for 2023 and some fun things that I have planned that are going to be new. Because I'm always looking to bring different pivots and iterations of WIT and our programs to all of you, because all of you are changing and growing with us, or you have taken a class, but you're still not, but you don't want to keep taking classes, but you want to listen to our podcast, or you want to you want to be involved, but you go through different stages in your life. Like, for example, I recently had lunch with one of my former WIT teens, and it was so sweet. The bill came and she's like, "Can I pay for it? You always have paid for me." It was really sweet. It was such a sweet gesture. It meant a lot to me. She's been in my life now. High school, out of college now. That's a long time. So over 5 years. And we're talking about creating a program that would really be helpful for people in their early 20s, navigating different things with careers and relationships. So I always want to do whatever it takes for all of you. And when it comes to giving you resources to help you bring your best self to the world and to help you really fall in love with yourself and value yourself. Because I think that's really what it comes down to. Of course, I'm so focused on helping all of you be of service to others, but the first person you need to be of service to is yourself, and to really find the best ways for you to take care of you. And I think that's what I've really been focusing on these last couple of weeks as we get into 2023. I have some really big professional goals for myself, and I need to be in the best possible mental state in order to achieve those goals and to serve as many people as I want to serve this year. And so while a lot of people were going out and partying, which I've done, I have definitely had years like that. One New Year's Eve, I was in Bora Bora and brought in New Year's doing that. I've had a range of ways to bring in the new year. But this year, 2022, going into 2023, I was getting really reflective, really deep, really big on the lessons that I learned in 2022. And I wrote a lot about them in my Today Show blog. And even doing that, my Today Show blog was a big deal for me, because I was so tired of hearing myself say in 2022, I'm going to write more. I'm going to write more. I'm going to write more. And then I wasn't writing. I was so annoyed with myself. I don't know if any of you have anything that comes to mind where you feel like you keep hearing yourself say that you're going to do something, but then you never do it. And I thought, screw that. I don't care that there's only 10 days left of 2022. I'm going to write every day. And if people read it, great. If they share it, great. If they vote it up, great. Obviously I want all of those things, but for me, it was like, just do the thing that you have been saying that you were going to do all year and you didn't do it. And I have to say it was really interesting, because there were some days where I thought, I don't really have anything to write about. And I told myself this exercise of writing every day was about keeping your word to yourself. And I think that's something that I want to talk a little bit more about with all of you, is that, in society, we talk so much about, you got to keep your word with other people. And once somebody gives you their word, that means so much. And that's true. But although I've had plenty of times, especially in 2022, where people gave me their word and then they broke it. But what about the word that keeping your word to yourself? What does that look like and sound like? And how many times do I say to myself, I really want to do blank better, or I really wish I could do blank, or whatever the thing is, but then I don't take action on it. And then I'm just I'm not being my own best friend. I'm telling myself things that I want to do, but then I'm not following through on them. And the follow through is the act of self love and self value and self respect. So in the case of the writing, I said, remember, this exercise was about doing something that you said you wanted to do and you didn't, but you decided that there was still, a week or so left. So you were going to make the time to do it every day. And I would sit down, open up the computer, not really know what I was going to write about, but I told myself I needed to, I told was going to write. And so I did. And I'm not saying that they're the best pieces I've ever written. The fun thing is though, that in that exercise, a lot of people in my circle end up getting pressed because I end up writing about people. Oh, and something else that happened was I put together some resources for people, like my favorite podcasts or favorite influencer accounts. And I shared them with the people that I mentioned, people that I'm not even I'm not friends with, just people that I've been listening to. And so far I've heard back from one of them and they're going to come to WIT. And I'm just, if all I got from that exercise of writing every day and following through on that was her coming to share her wisdom with WIT, I mean, that's huge. So I'm very grateful for that. But like a fun thing that came from it, from keeping my word to myself, there's a ripple effect. And I even got a donation from somebody from WIT. I mean, for WIT, I don't think it was because of an article, but maybe it inspired the donation. So it's kind of cool to think about my choices and the ripple effect of showing up for myself and keeping my word to myself had a ripple effect on other people, because I was able to lift other people up with my writing and also give the gift of some of those people to come to WIT, that it's going to help our kids. So long story shorter, where are you not keeping your word to yourself? And here we are on January 1st. If there's something that you said you wanted to start doing in 2023, just start today. You don't have to create the entire business plan, or you don't have to decide exactly where you're going to volunteer, or you don't have to do 1 hour of working out, or only eat, a certain way all day. That stuff can be very extreme and it's not sustainable. Uh, but if you start, what's one thing you can do? If you said you wanted to, let's just say you said you wanted to volunteer more this year or be of service, could you set a timer on your phone for 20 minutes and just use that time to research organizations in your neighborhood and maybe narrow the list down to 2 or 3 places that maybe you want to call when they open up again in the new year? If you've always said that you wanted to, let's see, what are the things that I always hear people say that they said they wanted to do? Maybe that's they've always said that they wanted to post more about their business on their personal Instagram. I've noticed this is has been a consistent thing in my experience with working with young people. They'll have personal Instagram accounts and then they'll have their business Instagram account. And they won't always share their business on their personal account. And usually their personal account has more followers and more engagement, but they're worried that people at their school or their friends will judge them, critique them, all the things. Totally get it. I still deal with that. Sometimes I find myself more inclined to post something or have people post something about me or WIT on the Do WIT account or the Do WIT podcast. And then I just tell myself oh, you're just so worried. When there was a blog that I wrote recently where I was like, oh God, people are probably going to think this is so cheesy. And I almost didn't post it on my personal page. But there's a big goal that's coming up for me that I'm confident I'm going to hit in the next month. And writing and putting myself out there in this way is necessary for that goal to happen, that deal to happen. And I thought, what do I care about more? What would my future self want me to do? And so I said, do something today that your future self will thank you for. And I put it up there. And honestly, the first few moments, maybe the first hour or so, I was a little bit oh gosh. And now I kind of have forgotten about it. I don't even know how it's doing. I haven't checked it out. So I get it. I'm not immune to worrying about what are other people going to think. That's so normal. And it's not, I don't think it's honest and realistic to say to you, you should stop caring what other people think. Okay. Yeah, maybe in some weird universe, as human beings, we walk around not even caring what people think about us. I'm older than most of you that are listening to this podcast or watching this podcast. And I've done a lot of work on myself, a lot of therapy, a lot of things. And I still worry about that sometimes. So I think it's like holding two things at once, being able to say, oh yeah, I am kind of nervous about what people are going to think when I post this blog that talks about loving myself through some hard times. And I am worried that people are going to think it's like too woo or silly or whatever. But, and I want to be somebody who's putting more of my personal ideas and goals and missions and ways of thinking out there because of some things that are coming up in 2023. So what's more important? What other people think about me and how they're going to interpret my writing, or what I think about me and what my future self wants? And so maybe if you've been kind of holding off on promoting your business or your brand or your work or your impact, and you know that if you shared it on your personal account, it would help grow your business or grow your impact, and you're not doing that because you're afraid people are going to think, maybe today you do one little thing. I don't know. You all know this better than I do, how it all works, but maybe you're like, I'm not putting it on the feed because that's too permanent. I'm going to put it in my story. But like, what's one thing that you can do where you're like, I think I'm just in this moment, I'm going to do something that my future self would want me to do instead of worrying what other people are going to be thinking about me if I do this thing. Only you know the answer to that. I don't know what that is. It could involve social media. Maybe it doesn't involve social media. Maybe you are somebody who your friends, like, I don't know, they always want to gossip or something. And they're always like talking about other people, or they're putting people down, or they're in your DMs, like sharing other people's accounts and saying like, how lame is this person, whatever. And like, maybe today you say, I'm not engaging in that, or I don't want to bring that energy into 2023. I dealt with a lot of people. I mean, a lot, and that's not true. That's an exaggeration. In 2023, online on social media, there was there was a solid handful of people talking bad about me. And some of that was done publicly, and then I had put some of my accounts private. Some of it was done privately, and teens, because there were some teens doing this, would send me screenshots of things. And there were adults doing this. So, and it was on a range. Some of it had to do with WIT. Some of it had to do with some of the work that I do outside of WIT, and people being like, not liking that kind of work that I do around the community. And it really, really bothered me. It really reminded me of bullying that happened to me in high school. And it took me a little while to get out of it. It took me a while to not want to get on an Instagram live and just like name names and talk about people and do all that stuff. And I chose not to, because you can see I didn't do that. And thank goodness I didn't. And again, the way I was able to keep myself from doing those rants or naming names or putting people on blast was because I always asked myself, like, is this what my future self would want me to do? Like, is this an action that my future self would be glad that I took? And it wouldn't be. I'm not somebody who wants to be known as a person who blasts people publicly. And the tough thing is that sometimes it's, sometimes the teens that are doing, they're like under 18. I'm not gonna like put a kid, and they're a kid, and I don't know. I say this a lot. I've said this on other podcasts, hurt people. So sometimes I just think, gosh, that person must be hurting so much. And a lot of times people talk about people and put people down because they're jealous. It's kind of a weird thing, but I've seen that happen before. I earn their insecurity. It's insecure because most people will come to people directly if they have issues with people versus like taking to social media. So anyway, a bit of a tangent there, but again, and that maybe another example of not engaging in that behavior was doing something that my future self would thank me for. And also, maybe if you have a circle of friends or people in your life where you find yourself when you're in that group that they are talking more about other people than about ideas and personal growth or just like fun, light topics, maybe you want to like distance yourself from that group because, we talk about in WIT, there's so much value in surrounding yourself with like-minded people. My friend group is pretty small. And do I know a lot of people? I have a huge network and I know a lot of people, but my personal friend group is pretty small. And the values align in that friend group. My values are my family, they're three F's: faith, family, freedom. My faith is really important to me. It does not mean that in my circle that everybody shares the same faith. They absolutely do not, but they respect and understand that my faith is important to me. And I understand that their faith, or maybe that they don't have a faith, is important to them. It's about just the respecting of that. It's in my friend group. So freedom is one of my values. I like to be around, I live a life where my freedom is important to me, my freedom of time, my freedom of how I get to work, who I work for, the amount of money I'm able to make, the amount of money I'm able to give. I love living in the United States. I love this country. Does it have problems? Absolutely. And I still love it. Again, holding two things. You can love something and want to work on it. Just like myself, I love myself and there's areas that I want to improve on. But I'm very grateful that I live in a country where as a woman, I can run a business and I can do so many things on my own. There are so many other countries where I would not be able to do the work that I do. And so I'm very grateful. So faith, family, and freedom and family. My family is incredibly important to me. It's one of the reasons why I live where I live, is because I want to be close to them. And in my friend group, family is also a value that we share. It's like prioritizing family, prioritizing a life where, like, for me, I love, one of the reasons why freedom is one of my values is I love that, like, freedom of choice, like how many choices I get to make every day in my life, this like radical accountability I have for my life. And I love that I'm a free thinker. I'm not somebody that just because everybody is saying, think this way, or this is the truth, or that, I challenge that. Like, I like to be somebody who isn't just somebody in mass. I just don't like think how everybody thinks. I don't care if everybody over here feels this way. If in my heart and my soul, I do not feel that way. I honor that. And those are just things that are important to me. So I like to be around other free thinkers, other people that are taking radical accountability of their life, other people that want to build and create. That's really important to me. So maybe when you're going into 2023, you're thinking about, who am I surrounding myself with? And that's one of the things, going back to that former student who took me out to lunch, why we want to build this program. We're not quite sure what it's going to look like, but for people that are out of WIT and out of college, is she was talking about, like, it's really hard to find like-minded people. And I was like, I know, I remember that experience at certain times in my life. And I know how important it is to have community and connection. So we're working on that. So, okay, well, I haven't done a solo episode. Have I ever done a solo episode? It's kind of interesting just to be talking to you, but not to you in real time, but thinking about you and thinking about how committed I am. I posted something yesterday on Instagram about my commitment for 2023. I said it out loud to a friend of mine who came over yesterday. I'm really speaking it and saying it and writing it because I am very, very concerned about the teen mental health crisis and all things that connect to that. And I'm very committed to working with as many teens as I can and tweens that I can this year, and reminding them of their value and worth, and inspiring them to use their unique gifts and talents to make a difference in their communities or in the world. I'll be doing that in a variety of ways. I'll be doing that through speaking gigs. I'll be doing that through hackathons in different cities and states. I'll be doing that through our WIT classes. I don't teach those classes anymore, but I have amazing facilitators that do. So we will be making impact still with our college credit classes and the podcast. I'll be on here. Should I say it out loud? If I say it out loud, then I want to follow through on it because I really want to follow through on my word. Be on the podcast weekly. I said it. I said it. I said it. Hold me to it. Hold me to it. What's something that you're hesitant to say out loud because you're worried that you might not follow through on it and you want to set yourself up for success? The thing is, there's absolutely no excuse. I can 100% do a podcast every week. There's not a time issue there. There's not a content issue there. I've got a list of people who want to come on the podcast. There's just been this weird like resistance or creative block, but I kind of like that I just said that out loud on the first episode of January 2023, that stay tuned for weekly podcast episodes. I think it's the only way I'm going to figure out what's the best format for all of you and what you like the most. Oh, something else I want to say real quick before signing off is some of you have wanted to come on the podcast, but you can't. Your parents aren't comfortable with you coming on a podcast and being seen and being heard and having that content live on the internet. Totally get it. 100% understand it. But you have these like questions. And so I was thinking about, do I have like a phone number that you call into and you leave your questions there and then we answer them on the podcast? That way you can be anonymous, but your voice is heard. And if you want to share it, you can. If your parents let you share, you can, but you wouldn't have to say your name. But it could be a business question, relationship question, life question, because what we keep hearing over and over again in WIT, that yes, there are business questions, but a lot of you are just trying to like navigate life and navigate it in a way that doesn't diminish or what is that called? Like we want you to we want you to be living a life that you're not feeling depleted every day and that you're not feeling like it's just a slog to get through or to get to senior year, to get to your college apps. Like, what does it look like to live a life where you actually feel lit up and you feel a lot of in control and you feel accountable and you feel confident and you're having fun? And you got your people, you got your crew, you got the people that get you, you're learning new things. Like, I just feel like, I know the teenage years are tough. And I know those post college years are like, whoa, what's happening? I'm figuring it all out. And it can feel heavy, but I want WIT to be a place where it helps you. Like, we lighten that load for you and that burden for you. And then we remind you of the greatness in you and that you do have unique gifts and talents and the world needs those things. So tell me something that you got out of this podcast, this whole podcast episode. Comment with it, share it. I just want you to know, as we kick off 2023, I am on your side. I am cheering you on. I am here for you. I am going to follow through on my commitments, to do whatever it takes to help young people get their voice and ideas out there, and to remind you on a weekly basis, if not a daily basis, on our different social media accounts, that you matter, you are worth it, your ideas matter. You don't have to wait till you're a certain age to do something in the world or to turn that hobby into something that can make you some money on the side. And we're going to help you. We're going to help you with your financial freedom, with falling more in love with who you are and building out the best version of yourself, and really just coming home to yourself, and versus like all the noise and listening to all the people and all what you think their opinions are of you. I mean, wouldn't it be so great if in 2023, it was the year that you just really fell in love with your life and you could look around, a year from today and say, well done. Like, you got through some tough things, but you had new tools in your toolkit that helped you. You made a difference. Like, I'm going to tell you, being of service to others is, number 2 on my list. It used to be number 1. And the reason it's not number 1 anymore is because I used to really deplete myself in serving others. And that's not helpful. So I first take care of me, and then I go out and I help as many people as I can. That's why I'm able to make that commitment this year, that this is going to be the year that I serve the most, is because I've been doing so much work to get my toolkit together and myself together to be able to go out there and not be depleted in doing that work. So, okay. I don't even know how long I've talked. I'm sure it'll tell me somewhere on this as I wrap up. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for motivating me. Some of you I've never met, I don't even know, and you motivate me. I want to be the adult that I wished I had when I was younger. I did have some great teachers. I've had 3 that I really loved. And then my parents were very supportive, and I would have loved to have had an adult that I like the adult that I'm trying to be that says, I want to help you get into the places and spaces that are usually reserved for adults because your voice matters, your ideas matter, and you don't have to wait till you have a built out resume for me to take you seriously. Uh, and I really wanted more adults to help me navigate the internal emotional struggle that I was going through when I was younger, and adults that would have prioritized mental health. So those are the reasons. That's so much of why I do the work that I do. It's just about like being for you what I wished I had when I was younger. I mess up. I try to own those mess ups. I take feedback pretty well. And I do get some feedback from all of you that just says like, okay, Miss H, like that wasn't like that expectation wasn't realistic or what. I mean, there's like things that happen internally with our teens. And I'm like, okay, I hear you. Okay, let's do WIT 2023. Wherever this finds you, I just hope it finds you knowing that you matter. And if maybe you're questioning your value and your worth right now, I want you to know that you are needed. I care about you. Even if I don't know you, I care about you. And the world needs your unique gifts and talents. Okay, let's do WIT.